I watched my daughter through the front window of the diner, where she worked, the October slush turning gray on the sidewalk outside. She was moving between tables with that easy confidence she always had, refilling coffees without being asked, laughing at something a regular customer said. She was 21 years old, second year of nursing at the University of Calgary, and she still insisted on working 18 hours a week to pay her own rent and her own textbooks. I stood there in the cold longer than I should have. Pride does that to you sometimes. It roots you to the spot. Her name was Amber. She'd been my whole world since her mother, Leanne, passed from an aggressive cancer when Amber was 6. 15 years of just the two of us in a rented duplex in the northeast end of the city. I worked as a pipe fitter for a mechanical contractor. Decent union wages, nothing glamorous. Amber had never once complained about what we didn't have. She'd earned a partial academic scholarship, taken out the minimum in student loans, and covered the rest herself. That was just who she was. My phone buzzed in my jacket pocket, my brother's name on the screen. "You still coming Saturday?" he asked. No hello. My brother had never been one for hellos. "Of course. Amber and I will be there around 4. There was a pause. The kind that says something before any words do. "Yeah, about that." Rochelle was thinking, this one might be better as an adults-only thing. You know how she gets about these parties. She's been planning it for months. I felt my chest tighten. Amber is 21. I know. It's just, Rochelle's got some people coming from her firm, partners, clients. She wants the whole evening to feel a certain way. A certain way, I repeated. You know what I mean. These are people Rochelle needs to impress. And Amber, look, there's nothing wrong with Amber. She's great. But she works at a diner, Jeff. Rochelle's worried someone's going to ask what she does and it's going to come up in conversation. I looked back through the window. Amber had crouched down to talk to a little kid at a corner booth, was balancing a sugar packet on her nose to make the child laugh. She had her mother's patience, her mother's kindness. She works at a diner because she's paying her own way through university, I said. She's on the dean's list. She's been accepted into a competitive clinical placement at Foothills Hospital for next spring. I know that. You know I'm proud of her. But Rochelle's clients don't need to hear it. Something like that. We'll be there at 4, I said, and hung up. I didn't tell Amber about the call that night. She'd been talking about the anniversary party all week. My brother and Rochelle were marking 10 years, and Amber had found a dark green wrap dress at a Value Village in Inglewood, ironed it, hung it carefully on the back of her closet door. She'd also spent 2 evenings painting an anniversary card in watercolors, flowers along the border she'd matched to the ones in Rochelle's garden. She did that every year, 10 years of hand-painted cards for her uncle and my sister-in-law. "Do you think she'll like it?" she asked over supper. Sunday soup stretched through the week, the way we'd always done things. I tried to get the color of those climbing roses right, the ones she's always photographing. I told her it was beautiful, because it was. My brother had married Rochelle 9 years ago. She came from old Calgary money. Her father had built a commercial real estate portfolio starting in the 80s, and she'd inherited a significant portion when he stepped back from the business. She was sharp, ambitious, and she had a way of making you feel the distance between her income and yours, without ever saying anything directly about it. She'd never been openly cruel to Amber, not in front of me. But there had been small things over the years, things I'd noticed and told myself were nothing. I should have paid more attention to those small things. Saturday came cold and gray, the way October in Calgary always does. My brother and Rochelle had built their house 5 years ago in a neighborhood on the west side of the city. The kind of street where the driveways are long enough to suggest that arriving by car is a privilege. We pulled up at 4:10. My brother had said 5, so I'd planned to be early, help set up if they needed it. The driveway was already full. 4 vehicles I didn't recognize, newer model SUVs, a black Tesla, a Lexus. I parked my truck at the curb. Amber grabbed the card and the bottle of wine she'd bought herself from a shop on 17th Avenue, and we walked to the front door. Rochelle answered before I rang the bell. She was in a dress I'd never have been able to put a price to, her hair arranged as though she were attending something at the Jubilee. Her smile was the kind of smile people practice until it holds up under pressure. "Jeff, you're early." Not a greeting, an observation about a logistical problem. Thought we could help set up, I said. Everything's already handled. I hired people. Her eyes moved to Amber, down, then up, the way you take inventory of something. There's a bit of a situation, actually. Some of the guests have already arrived, and the entryway's quite congested right now. Amber, would you mind waiting in the mudroom off the garage? Just for 20 minutes or so, until everyone's settled in. Amber blinked. The mudroom? It's heated. There's a bench. I just need the entryway clear for when the Hendersons arrive. They're the lead partners from my firm. Her tone was even, almost apologetic, the way people sound when they're saying something unforgivable and betting you won't call them on it. The smell of food gets very strong when the caterers are plating. I'd hate for anyone to be uncomfortable. There was a silence, and in that silence I understood exactly what was happening. Amber smelled like the diner. She'd come straight from her shift, showered and changed at my place. But the smell of cooking grease stays in your hair, no matter how many times you wash it. That was what my sister-in-law was saying, without saying it. Amber looked at me. Her face was carefully neutral, the kind of neutral, I realized later, that people learn over years of needing it. It's okay, Dad, she said quietly. I don't mind waiting. I should have said no right then. I should have taken her hand and walked back to the truck and driven us somewhere for dinner, just the two of us. I didn't. I let her go. She walked around the side of the house, and my sister-in-law stepped back with that same practiced smile and gestured me inside. I found my brother in his office on the second floor, finishing a call. He waved me in. I waited and looked at the photos on his shelf. Him and Rochelle at a resort in Whistler. Their two kids at a private school event. A framed article from a Calgary business magazine with Rochelle's photo on it. No photos of Amber. No photos of Leanne. When he got off the call, "Good, you made it. Listen, the Hendersons are going to be here any minute, so just follow my lead tonight, okay? Rochelle's worked really hard on this." She put Amber in the mudroom. He looked at me for a moment. "It's just until everyone's inside." "She's in the mudroom, Preston." He pressed his lips together. "Rochelle's under a lot of stress. The Henderson account is a big deal. Can you let it go tonight?" I turned and walked out. I found the mudroom through the garage. It was a small room off the side entrance. Boot rack, coat hooks, a built-in bench. Amber was sitting on the bench with her knees together, her anniversary card still in her hands. She'd gone back to get her coat from the car. She was wearing it. I sat down beside her. The room was cold enough that I could see my own breath near the door. "How long have you been in here?" "About 20 minutes. My cousin came through the garage a bit ago." Amber looked at the boot rack. She saw me kind of stop, then said, "Oh, are you helping with the catering?" When I said no, she said, "Oh right, you're the one from the Tims," and went back inside. I think she told some of her friends because two of them walked past the garage door and looked in. She paused. One of them laughed. My hands were very still on my knees. "We're going inside," I said. "Dad, please." Her voice was quick. "I don't want to make things weird between you and Uncle Preston. This is just how they are. I'm used to it." "Used to what?" She looked down. "Aunt Rochelle has never really liked having me around. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, she made me eat in the kitchen because the dining table was at capacity. The Christmas before that, she gave all the cousins these nice gifts and gave me an Indigo gift card for $10. I could see the corner was bent back from the display rack at the checkout. The sticker was still on it. She said it very quietly. She's never once asked about my nursing program, not once. She asks my cousin about volleyball every single time I see her. Each sentence landed like something physical. Why didn't you tell me? Because Uncle Preston is your only family besides me, and I didn't want to be the reason that got ruined. I pulled her into a hug. She was taller than Leanne had been, but in that cold mudroom she felt very small. I told her she had never in her life been the cause of anything bad. I told her she had worked harder than anyone in that house had ever had to work, and she had done it without complaining and without asking for a single thing she hadn't earned. She nodded against my shoulder. "Finish holding the card," I said. "Then we're going inside." She looked up. "Dad." "We're going inside." We waited out another 15 minutes. Eventually my sister-in-law opened the mudroom door and told us guests were all settled and we could join the party. She did not acknowledge that she had kept my daughter on a bench in the cold for nearly 45 minutes. The main floor was full, 40, maybe 45 people, everyone performing a version of themselves for everyone else. A photographer worked the edges of the room, custom floral arrangements on every surface. And in the center of the living room, taking up an entire side wall, was the thing Rochelle had been posting about on social media for weeks. A gallery wall of anniversary photographs. 52 framed images arranged in careful rows, spanning 10 years of their marriage. The wedding, the trips, the house build, the kids growing year by year, Christmas mornings, summer barbecues. My brother's face in everyone, Rochelle's practiced smile in everyone. I stopped in front of it. Amber stopped beside me. 52 photographs, their family of 4 again and again and again. 10 years of family events, not a single photograph of my daughter. Not one. Behind us, I heard Rochelle describing the wall to someone. The custom frames, the photographer she'd hired to reprint everything at large format, the months of curation. The pride in her voice was completely genuine. My brother appeared at my elbow. What do you think? She spent months putting that together. I looked at Amber. She was looking at the wall, the way you look at something when you already knew what you'd find, but were hoping to be wrong. I turned to face the room. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. The room had a particular quiet that expensive parties have, and when I spoke, the people nearest to me heard it, and then the people beyond them. I'd like to ask something, I said. My daughter has come to your family events for 10 years. 10 years of Christmas Eves, Thanksgivings, birthday parties, summer barbecues. She has hand-painted an anniversary card for your wedding anniversary every single year. She has never once missed an occasion. I pointed at the gallery wall. 52 photographs up there. Can anyone show me one with her in it? The room went quiet enough to hear the caterers in the kitchen. My brother said, Jeff. She sat in your mudroom for 45 minutes tonight, I said. Your mudroom, in October. Because Rochelle was concerned that one of her guests might find out Amber works at a diner to pay for nursing school. I turned to my sister-in-law. Her face had gone a color I hadn't seen on a person before. My daughter has a 3.9 GPA. She has been accepted to one of the most competitive clinical programs in this city at Foothills Hospital. She works 18 hours a week, and she has never once been late on her tuition or her rent. She bought the wine she brought tonight from her own paycheck. She spent 2 evenings painting that card. I walked to the side table, where Amber had set it down, picked it up, and held it so the room could see it. The watercolor climbing roses along the border, the colors matched exactly to Rochelle's garden. She painted it to match the flowers you photograph for Instagram, because she pays attention, because she is a genuinely kind person. Rochelle's voice when it came was very controlled. I think you should leave. We were going to, I said, but I want you to understand something first. I looked at her guests, some of them uncomfortable, some watching with the fixed attention of people who know they're witnessing something that will be discussed later. That wall tells everyone in this room exactly what you value. The problem is, what you left off it tells everyone the exact same thing. I placed the card on the display table, leaning it against the frame of the largest photo in the center. Then Amber and I walked to the front door. My brother did not stand up. I looked back once from the doorway. He was standing near the fireplace, hands in his pockets, looking at the floor. I had known him my entire life. He'd taught me how to change a tire. He'd driven 4 hours through a February blizzard to be with me in the hospital when Leanne was in her last days. He'd been the one to make the calls I couldn't make. And in that moment, he was looking at the floor. Come on, I said to Amber. We drove back toward the northeast, the city lights running in the October wet. Neither of us spoke for a while. About 20 minutes in, she said, You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. You might lose him. That was his choice, not mine. She was quiet for another moment, then I counted the photos. I counted 2. She almost laughed. Not quite, but almost. We ordered pizza from the place near my building we'd been ordering from since she was small. She fell asleep on the couch before the movie ended, which she'd been doing since she was a kid. I turned off the TV and sat in the dark for a while. My brother didn't call that night, or the next day, or the day after that. 3 weeks later I received an email. Not from my brother, from my sister-in-law. She'd described the situation at the party as a disruption to a professional event, and stated she required a formal written apology delivered to her firm's partners by end of month. I forwarded the email to my brother with one line, "Is this where you're at?" He didn't reply. I wrote back to Rochelle myself, no lawyer, just me, and told her that if she intended to escalate, I was prepared to speak directly with her firm's HR department about the pattern of treatment her family had shown my daughter across a decade of family events. I had dates. I had Amber's account. I had a text message from 2 years prior in which my sister-in-law had written to my brother that Amber brings the energy of the room down. My brother had forwarded it to me by mistake, and I had kept it. I never heard about the apology again. Winter came early that year. Amber finished her semester with a 3.9, same as always, because she was consistent the way people are when they can't afford to be anything else. She started her clinical placement at Foothills in January. She texted me on her first day from the break room. "I love this. I actually love this, Dad." I read that text 4 times. In February, my brother called. Saturday morning, I was replacing the water heater in the duplex. I almost didn't pick up. "Rochelle and I are separating," he said. I set down my wrench. "Tell me." It had come out in November, a month after the anniversary party. The Henderson, who had been so critical to impress that evening, the lead partner my sister-in-law had organized the entire night around, had not been attending in a strictly professional capacity. She'd been involved with him for over a year. The anniversary party, designed to project a perfect marriage to the people whose opinion Rochelle valued most, had been attended by the man who already knew the whole thing was built on nothing. My brother laughed when he said it, a short, dark sound. She wanted everything to look perfect, and the one person she was performing for already knew it was a lie. I said I was sorry. "Don't be sorry for me," he said. "I'm the one who let her put your daughter in that mudroom and didn't say a word about it. I think about that every day." He stopped. "What kind of man does that?" "A man who made a mistake," I said. "The question is what you do from here." "I want to see Amber, if she's willing." "That's her decision, not mine. But my advice, show up. Don't explain or defend, just show up." "Okay." "She gets off shift Thursday at 6. Tim Hortons on McLeod Trail, go buy a coffee." A pause. Something warmer in it than the laugh from before. "Okay." He went Thursday. He sat across from her in a booth for an hour and a half. Amber told me afterward that he'd cried, which surprised her because she'd never seen him cry in her life. He'd told her he was sorry. He hadn't tried to justify anything, the way I'd told him not to. Just, "I am sorry, and I saw that wall through your eyes, and I am ashamed of myself." She told him she didn't hate him, that she'd never hated him. The condition of moving forward was that he show up consistently, without Rochelle's voice in his ear telling him how to see her. He agreed to those terms. He came to her end-of-year nursing presentation in April, 3rd row. Afterward we went for dinner at a Vietnamese place on Center Street. Laminate tables, the kind of place where the food is what matters. He asked Amber real questions about her program and listened to the real answers. He told her he'd looked up the clinical placement acceptance rate at Foothills Hospital. 9%. He said it twice, like he needed to hear it again out loud. The divorce was finalized in June. My brother stayed in the house. He sold one of the vehicles in the garage and started driving a used Subaru. He said it felt more honest somehow. By summer, he and Amber had a rhythm. A Sunday morning call most weeks, occasional dinners. He showed up to her birthday in July with a card he'd written himself. No gift bag, no boutique ribbon. The card said, "You earned everything you have. That's rarer than you know." She keeps it on her desk. That August, Amber was offered one of 12 spots in the nursing residency program at Foothills. Over 200 applicants. She called me from the hospital parking lot, so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. My brother came over that evening. We sat on the back steps of the duplex. Not a deck, just concrete, the kind that always collects cigarette butts from previous tenants, and drank beer in the late summer heat and watched the alley go dark. It wasn't a West Side showroom. There was no gallery wall, no photographer walking the perimeter, no catered anything. But it was the place where Amber and I had eaten Sunday soup and watched bad TV and come through things that would have broken easier people, and it felt more like home than any room full of $200 appetizers ever had. I've been thinking about something, my brother said after a while. I waited. My kids have had everything handed to them. Nice school, nice things. No idea what any of it actually costs. He turned the bottle in his hands. I've been talking to them about getting real jobs. Not internships at Rochelle's firm. Actual shifts, actual schedules. How's that going over? About as well as you'd expect. Half a smile. But I keep thinking about Amber. About what she knows that they don't. What it actually takes to earn something. He paused. I want them to learn that before it's too late. I thought about the mudroom bench. About 52 photographs. About 10 years of hand-painted cards accepted without a word and never put in a frame anywhere. It's not too late, I said, but you have to mean it every week. Not just when it's convenient. He nodded. I know. We sat until the mosquitoes drove us inside, the way they always do in August in Alberta. You forget every year until they remind you. Classic. Amber is 2 years into her residency now. She works nights mostly, the way junior nurses do. She still treats the orderlies and the cafeteria staff with the same care she gives the attending physicians, because that's who she is and who she has always been. She still has the green wrap dress from Value Village. She told me she wore it on her first day of residency, under her scrubs. She wanted to remember where she started. I think about that anniversary party sometimes. About the 52 photographs and the one cold bench, and my brother looking at the floor. About the choices we both made in that moment, and how long those choices followed us afterward. The thing I want to say, if there's anything worth saying, is this. Your children are watching how you protect them. Not what you tell them about their worth. What you actually do when standing up for them costs you something. Amber never doubted she was loved. What she needed to know was that the love was unconditional enough to walk out of a room full of people when staying meant pretending she wasn't worth the chair. That's the only move that matters. Make it early. Don't wait until your kid is sitting on a bench in a cold mudroom in October, wearing her coat indoors, before you understand what's been happening for a decade. I should have walked out the moment my sister-in-law opened that door. I didn't. But I walked out when it mattered, and my daughter was watching. And she knew.